Good evening, everyone. Before we get started tonight, I'd like to ask you all to rise for a moment of silence and recognition for the loss of one of our police lieutenants. I know we recognized this last night, but this being the Public Safety Committee, I thought that we would take a moment to remember Lieutenant Joseph Pepperny and his family at this time. Thank you. Thank you. I call to order the December 8th, 2021 meeting of the Public Safety Committee. We have a quorum present. Our second item on the agenda tonight is the election of chairman of the Public Safety Committee. Are there any nominations for the chairmanship? Alderwoman Berto.
I'd like to nominate President Pro Tem Joseph DeLucia for chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second? I will second the nomination. Are there any other nominations for chairman of the committee, or chairperson of the committee? Hearing none, we will vote by roll call. Alderwoman Berto?
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould?
No.
Alderman DeLucia votes, the chair votes yes. Nomination is carried. Thank you. I look forward to another 2 years as chairman of this very important committee of the city. Moving on to our next item, adoption of previous minutes. This goes back to our meeting that was held on October the 13th, 2021. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes as, to adopt the minutes?
I'll motion that.
Motion made. Is there a second?
There are corrections that need to be made.
Well, we could take those up under discussion. Is that a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or other changes to the minutes? Alderman Gould.
Under new business A, number 1, in the first paragraph, I don't think that Eric McDermott stated that the reservoir are at full ponds.
Yes, the correct terminology is full pond, singular. Next.
In the same area, number 3, I don't think that Chief Daly said that in the fourth line down, that non-compliance mass-related calls had deterred off.
So I'll read the sentence. Chief Daly reported that no current COVID impacts in the last month. Reported no current in the last month, and that non-compliance mask-related calls had declined. Okay. Anything else?
In section under fire department updates, number 1, I believe that the acronym instead of NPD should be NFD on the second line. And I believe further down where it says NPF, that should be NFD. And number 2, in the Taffville update, third line from the bottom, I believe it was Taffville would be hosting trunk or treat. And in number 3, I believe Chief Ibers stated that it would be Yantic would be beginning the parking lot replacement, not Aqua. That's all I have.
Catherine, did you get all of those?
Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes
As amended?
as corrected.
Motion made, seconded
I'll second.
by Alderwoman Berto. Are there any other corrections, additions, deletions, or other changes? Hearing and seeing none. Roll call vote to adopt the minutes. Alderwoman Berto.
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, unanimously carried. Thank you very much. Oops. Next item is item 4 on our agenda, citizen comment. Are there any citizens, or is there a citizen who would like to make a comment to the committee tonight? Are there citizens that would like to make a comment to the committee tonight? Third and final time, are there any citizens that would like to make a comment to the committee tonight? Hearing and seeing none, declare public citizen comment period closed. Item number 5, ongoing business 5A, COVID-19 update. And that's the city manager to update us on our citywide COVID situation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since our last meeting was October, the city did discontinue the mask mandate in public buildings. And at that point, our infection rate was pretty much level. With the introduction of the Delta variant and the holidays, we're not unique to the state, but the trend has been somewhat troubling. It has increased statewide, and unfortunately, at the same time, our vaccination rate is around 60%. It increased from 59.8 in October to now. So you can see the incremental amount is small. So we're monitoring the situation, and we'll see how it goes in December. We're expecting probably that it won't level off until sometime after the holidays in January. If it increases that, we may offer to various boards and commissions the option of returning to a hybrid or a totally online meeting. At this point, we're not recommending that, but it's possible that we could go to that. I frankly don't see the city returning to mask mandates within the city limits at this point. We'll take some direction from the state, but my inkling is that the governor is not going to reinstitute that, but keep it at the local level. So we're monitoring it. The city has instituted within its employees 2 phases to try to control any new infections. We now have inventory of all city employees, whether they're vaccinated or not. They had to respond to our request on that, and as of last week, all city employees had. And with that situation, the mandate is that any employee that is not vaccinated must wear a mask when at work, and needs to be tested weekly to protect other employees that work with them. So we're not, at this point, not mandating vaccinations, but we are mandating weekly testing and mask wearing. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have on coronavirus.
I know that we spoke earlier today, but just for the benefit of the entire committee and the audience, statewide, the infection rate is at 8+%.
Yeah, this is kind of an aberration. On Tuesday, they always seem to have a higher amount than the other days of the week. Today, it dropped down to a little under 5. So from day to day, there can be some real variations. Obviously, it went down quite a bit, but even 5 is what it was in February, March of last year. So to give you perspective, that's still a problematic number.
How about the county and the city? Are we still getting that data on a regular basis?
Yes, every Thursday I get city data, and I get the Uncas Health District data. I don't get the total New London County data, just the Uncas data.
And how is that compared to the state?
It's slightly higher, but not much. We're pretty consistent with the regular part of the state, the rest of the part of the state. As I said before, our vaccination rate is on the low side of the state average.
And is the trending pretty much parallel to what's going on, what we see statewide?
Yes.
Any questions for the city manager?
Oh, he answered mine earlier.
No? Okay, thank you, John. Item 5B, you can see what's city manager still standing there. City manager's report on a fire chief's meetings. I forwarded this report to the two of you yesterday. It's my norm is to just read it into the record. John, if that's all right with you?
That's fine.
Okay. So this was for today's meeting. Report. Let's see. So I have met with fire chiefs twice over the past month. We met on November the 9th with Rob Braccio from American Ambulance. We met again on November the 16th with Captain Vega and Dispatcher O'Brien from the Norwich Police Department. Due to scheduling conflicts, the chiefs have not been able to meet on their own over the past 2 months. However, they did have another meeting with representatives from Motorola and the Connecticut Telecommunications Systems Unit regarding the statewide radio system project. At our meeting with American Ambulance, we discussed a number of concerns raised by the chiefs regarding procedures, policies, and recent service delivery. We don't normally have American Ambulance at the table, but it was good to directly address the ongoing concerns of the chiefs with Rob. Several topics were discussed, including emergency medical responses, and that the fire chiefs and Rob will work for consistency in response, communication, and expectations when mutual aid ambulance services may be needed. The conversation was helpful for the groups to better understand the needs and concerns of both sides. I will include American Ambulance in future meetings as needed to address the concerns of the chiefs. The meeting with Captain Vega and Dispatcher O'Brien focused on the recent incidents and dispatch procedures, and also included some of the items that were raised during the meeting with American Ambulance. There are some challenges and inconsistent application of procedures in dispatch that were addressed. The chiefs and dispatcher O'Brien shared their ideas on how to move forward and what areas can be adjusted to implement specific procedures regarding retones and automatic aid assignments. Dispatch and communication procedures were discussed as they relate to all departments, following similar practices where feasible, with the understanding that there are inherent differences in the services. We spoke of the schedule and staffing level changes that dispatch faces and what role the chiefs play. The chiefs all support increased staffing for the dispatchers, but recognize that it is on the dispatchers union and police department leadership to enact any changes to personnel levels. I believe that this word was supposed to be while, right? While it isn't normal for me to include the outside agencies in my meetings with the chiefs, the need to have direct conversation with American Ambulance and dispatch was clearly identified. Both meetings were productive and I think will lead to steps in the right direction to address the concerns of all involved. My next scheduled meeting with the chiefs is December the 14th. And on that, any questions for the city manager from the committee?
No.
Okay, thank you for that, John. Moving on to item number 6, unfinished business. We have none tonight. So then on to number 7, new business, department and agency updates. Eric McDermott was unable to join us tonight. He did email me with a brief report that he asked me to relay to all of you. So he said, I apologize to the committee. I am unable to attend tonight's meeting. Here's the report below from NPU. NPU continues to monitor developments with COVID-19 with our leadership teams meeting daily. We have been working very closely with the city manager regarding the implementation of a citywide COVID-19 policy. Currently, our workforce vaccination rate is at 77%. That's not 7.7, that's 77. Didn't bring the glasses. Okay. 77%. Both our reservoirs are at full pond and our annual hydrant flushing is complete for this year. We recently upgraded our gas regulation station on Atrobando Avenue. I guess that's the project that's going on next to Gorin Furniture. Mm-hmm. Okay. Details will be provided during our annual training with the 5 departments. We'll have to just make sure that he's clear that there are 6 departments. And he, his phrase was standing by for questions. I'll take that to mean that he welcomes questions from anyone who might have one. Very respectfully, Eric is. So, I thank him for that. Moving on to American Ambulance. Rob, good to see you.
Thank you, Joe. Good to see you as well. Good evening. So I have data for both October and November. Robert Radio, Director of Operations for American Ambulance, for the record. In the month of October, American Ambulance responded to 766 emergency responses in the city of Norwich. And in the month of November, we responded to 665, which is a marked decrease of 101 responses over the course of the month. Unfortunately, in the first few weeks of December, we are seeing that there's been a significant trend back the other direction, so we're hoping that those numbers level off before the end of the year. As far as COVID is concerned, we are at 100% vaccination compliance. We have no clinical team members that are not fully vaccinated at this time. All of our clinicians in the community are fully vaccinated. We have just received today notification that we have one clinician that is out on leave secondary to contracting COVID, despite the fact that he is vaccinated, but he's doing well. Other than that, we have no significant impacts due to COVID. Our PPE supplies remain well stocked, and I just wanted to thank the city manager and the fire chiefs for including us in the meeting back in November. It was very productive, and I welcome the opportunity to participate in those meetings going forward whenever they deem necessary. Any questions from the committee?
Any questions, Ron?
Thank you so much.
I had just one. I just wanted to, ladies before gentlemen. How's your staffing doing in terms of illnesses, being able to fill jobs and so on?
Sure. So as you may or may not be aware, there is a nationwide staffing shortage in emergency medical services and in general, and our industry is not immune to that. Our staffing levels are sufficient to make sure that we are 100% contract compliance for the city and all the surrounding communities. However, we are seeing some general staffing struggles, but they haven't impacted service delivered in Norwich or any of the other communities as well. We are partnering with the local health systems to make sure that all the needs of the community are met, even if we can't do it ourselves. So we are engaging in collaborative partnerships that way. I am actually super proud to announce, and I'd like to bring it up just so the committee is aware, that American Ambulance sponsored a SARA program last month, which was a pilot program that we've run for the first time. We recruited a cohort of people from the community who were not involved in EMS, put them through a very rigorous 7-week EMT program, and I'm super proud to announce that 6 of those 7 have now become certified by the state and are actively working in our community serving the citizens of Norwich. They've all done super well. We're very proud of them. That's something that we're going to continue to do going forward. We have an open cohort now, so if anybody knows anybody, please let us know. But we find that in a situation where the labor shortage is global and our industry is not immune, those people that are currently in the industry and want jobs already have them. So we have found that, unfortunately, we are at the point where we're manufacturing our own team members, and we've been very successful. They're all very, very competent, very compassionate, and we're very proud of all of them. So.
Terrific. Thank you. Okay, next up, Norwich Police. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, everybody. Very, very busy 2 months in the Norwich Police Department. I hope to get a written report to you by the end of the week, combining the 2 months of service and activity. 2 significant incidents that I want to thank the City Council and the City Government for our support. Officer Scott DuPoint was attacked with a subject with a rifle. The cruiser he was operating received 23 impacts, and thank God none of them hit him. But that was a very, very tragic event. And then we had the loss of Joe Pep, Lieutenant Joseph Paperny, a 19-year, 8-month veteran of the Norwich Police Department. Very tragic. And thank you all who showed up to the celebration of life and the calls and the texts. It's been a difficult time. The department's been taking some hits. The stress of COVID, the last 2 years of its life is starting to show. So I do think we should have that discussion moving forward. We're doing the best we can. The AP and our mental health counseling is doing its best, but the officers are starting to show the signs of wear. I'll go to critical needs. Usually you hear about infrastructure. First critical need we have, and you just brought it up, is staffing. We're currently down 6 officers. 6 officers for us has always been a tipping point, and because you can't hire them fast as you lose them. I'm going to lose an additional 2 officers in the next month or so to retirements, so that brings us down to 8. The academy takes an 11-month process, so if I could find 8 and get 8 seats in the police academy, that only happens 3 to 4 times a year, you see how long it pushes out. And those jobs in Joseph were have to get filled, so that means overtime and a lot of mandatory overtime. More mandatory overtime, more burnout, more people leaving the job. You can see where this is going. So we're working on it, aggressively seeking employees so we can get people in. We're trying to get as many as possible into the January class. But I do feel you guys should know that going in. Kind of related to that, the other critical need we've had, we talked about it briefly toward the end of the last council, is our station. Right now, we currently have 5 candidates in our process actively pursuing 4 female. Our female locker rooms are at capacity. So if we hire any one of these female officers, we don't have a locker room for them to change. So that means we'll have to pull the female supervisors out or detectives, and it just sends a message that I don't like doing. So that's going to be an issue, and that's just a small microcosm of what we battle at the station every day. Interview rooms become offices become storage rooms, growing computer spaces. We're squeezing everything we can out of the building, but it's starting to show its cracks. So That's what we have right now, and I'll answer any questions you guys have.
So it has been, I know that you shared with me that it has been a busy couple of months, but traditionally, historically, I should say, this time of year, does your activity level trend up?
Usually we have domestics trend up when you get the stress from the holiday season. When the clocks change, car accidents go up, and car versus pedestrian car accidents go up. We didn't, thank God, we didn't have one last year. We did this year. We didn't when the clock changed. Usually, your retail thefts and stuff like that will trend up a little bit. So far, it hasn't. We've had actually a couple violent crimes in the last week or so. So the violent crimes are ticking up. So it's just, we're still trying to figure out what this new world's going to look like, because it used to be, when you were there, got to around December, things started smoothing down a little bit. You had the domestics, but that was about it. But now we're back, with violent crimes, which kind of took, well, not in October, November off. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm usually I ask my colleagues first. Any questions for the chief before I?
So far, no.
No, so, I want to express a concern because, because we've got a lot of balls in the air right now in terms of the police department and the physical plant, because we're looking at dispatch, right? We're looking at communications equipment. We're starting to put all these things into motion, right? And we've known for a while that space, forget about dispatch, just space in general, is at a premium. And I know that you have already looked at this. I think that maybe we should sit down with the city manager and start looking at some options, some stopgap measures.
We have found some options,
Yeah.
and a little premature to come up publicly with them, but I think we should have that conversation just so people know that there are options out there, and this may be a good time to explore some of these options.
All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, emergency management. Hi, Chief.
Good evening. All right, for emergency management, first off, I'll start by saying Mark Waters is responsible for all the work that I'm about to cite you guys with. After months of gathering information, inspecting and reporting damage to homes and businesses, a presidential FEMA disaster declaration for New London and Fairfield counties, excuse me, following Storm Ida was granted. FEMA opened a disaster recovery center in Norwich, operating out of 2 locations. One site was at Three Rivers Community College during the week, and the other site was at Norwich Fire Headquarters on Saturdays. In addition to the recovery centers, FEMA had 2 disaster survivor assistance teams in Norwich surveying damaged properties for 1 week in November. The 2 disaster recovery centers were closed on November 30th. Anyone that has not yet come forward to report damages will have until December 29th to submit damages on the FEMA website, disasterassistance.gov. If they need assistance, they can reach out to Mark Waters or myself, which if they reach out to me, I'm going to direct them to Mark, because he's been the lead on this. He's done a fantastic job working with the mayor, Public Works, other city entities and agencies to collect the concerns of the businesses and the residents on damage that was sustained during the storm. We are very fortunate that New London County, just barely, not by much, qualified for that threshold to reach the disaster declaration. So there's a lot in there that was involved, a lot of legwork from a number of groups, and I thank them all. Other than that, our COVID PPE supplies, we have plenty on hand. We continue to offer to city agencies and public agencies. If you need anything, reach out to us via phone or email, and we'll get you some supplies. Over the past 2 months, we attended the Norwich Opioid Task Force meetings, as well as the DEMIS Region 4 Steering Committee meetings virtually. Pending any questions, that's all I have for emergency management.
Questions for the chief? Not on emergency management, Chief. So would you like to get right into NFD?
Yes, sir. Response data for the 460 calls over November and December was previously emailed. Please let me know if you have any questions as submitted. Significant responses. On the 7th of November, we had a fire at 25 Broadway, the Regan building. Units responded to report of a fire. Arriving crews reported smoke from a fifth-floor apartment. Crews proceeded to enter the building and found a fire being kept in check by the sprinkler system. And they extinguished the fire, secured the sprinkler system, and deployed salvage covers to minimize water damage and prevent further property damage. 4 occupants were displaced and assisted by Red Cross. Assisting on scene for the fire department were public utilities, police department, and the Warwigan staff. No civilian nor firefighter injuries on that one. On 19 November, another significant incident we had was a vehicle into a building at West Main and Thames Street. A minivan struck the American Group building right on the corner there. The significant facade damage as well as impacting a structural member. So the vehicle was kept in place until an engineering firm can come in and look, make sure that moving the vehicle wasn't going to cause any further damage. The building was temporarily evacuated. The 2 occupants of the vehicle were unhurt. Eventually, the vehicle was removed by the crews with no further damage to the structural elements. Again, no civilian nor occupant injuries and no fire department injuries. Assisting on the scene that day were police department, public utilities, public works, and the building department. For critical needs, Squad A was out of service a total of 5 weeks over the past 2 months. I think when we met in October, it was out of service, and I had reported that we were down an engine and lost another engine to a transmission issue. And I'll repeat it again because it's worth repeating. Over that period when we were down, East Great Plains Chief Milton stepped up and loaned us an engine, and we subsequently borrowed one from Chief Ibers, engine 32 as well. So again, thank you to those 2 gentlemen for the cooperation and support. But it highlights, again, the needs for Squad A replacement. 20-year-old engine in the city, the busiest truck. It's time. The second period of out of service for that was due to a tank repair, and it was out of service for a week for that. So it was out for 4 weeks for the engine rebuild and 1 week for the tank repair. I'll tell you, if I didn't tell you last time we met in October, before the major repairs were done, I did consult with John Raymond from Fleet Maintenance, and I asked the question, is it worth it? Do we want to put this much effort, time, and material into this vehicle as opposed to maybe keeping the E1 and keeping that as a service? The E1's a 1995. It's really not a better option. And he said with this work, it'll extend the service life of Squad A. And it shouldn't be a frontline piece, but it'll be a fine backup piece. So we did look at that before we put all the work into it. Staffing, the process for firefighter recruits is ongoing. It's pretty much wrapped up. All exams and interviews are complete. And I should be making conditional offers over the next 2 weeks. With the plan of putting candidates into the spring academy.
Yeah. How many?
We're looking to put 2 into the spring academy. For those of you that don't know, Battalion Chief Keith Wusick will be retiring effective early January. Chief Wusick served the city for 24 years, and as you know, was acting chief for a year during my military deployment. I would like to publicly thank him for his dedicated service, not only to the city and the department, but also to the men and women of 2 Shift. I wish him the best as he moves on to Chief of the Preston Fire Department. Facilities, both stations remain closed to the public. We are open for city agency meetings and public meetings for that we're involved in, but public interaction with the fire marshals, with the office staff is still done through meetings only or in the lobby. COVID, no impact for the month. PPE supplies are plentiful. No changes in response or operations. We maintained a heightened safety envelope to minimize exposure and limit personnel contact. We currently sit around the 80% mark. I think it might be around 82% for vaccinated on the operational side, and we're at 100% on the staff and the admin side. Fire services, you read the meeting notes from the city manager. The only thing I would add to that is that we have a meeting also tomorrow, the fire chiefs, or those of us that can make it, with CTS and Motorola. So our meeting tomorrow should hopefully put the final pieces in place for them to give their proposal to the city manager. Again, I extend my appreciation to Chief Daly and to Lieutenant Perry for their assistance with facilitating those meetings, and to all the people that have participated over the several months that we've been holding them. Pending any questions, that's all I have.
Questions?
Just one question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Do you have an approximate idea what it costs to make all these repairs to Squad A?
I do not, but I will get one for you.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have anything.
Nothing further, Chief. Thank you. Moving on with the fire department reports, Tafel? Evening, Chief.
Good evening, everybody. Congratulations on your appointments.
Thank you.
It's been a busy last 2 months for us. We'll start out with some of the good stuff. Is our trunk or treat in Tafel, the first one we ever did, drew about 1,000 people. So if you were wondering why nobody showed up at your house, they were all in Tafel. It was one of the first ones we've done. We're going to try and, we had some other help from the other civic organizations, but it was basically the fire department took the lead. So between that and we've also, in October, we participate in the Walktober event, so we hosted our annual walk for the community, talking about the Milltown and stuff like that. So them are just some of the things we did for the community. We had responded mutual aid to several fires over the last 2 months. During the windstorm on November 13th, we had a tree come down and land on a mobile home, crushed a car, crushed a home. We were able to get the resident out just as we were arriving, and she was rescued by an elderly neighbor that helped her get out. So we secured the scene there. Our COVID supplies are good. We're roughly about 51% vaccinated. That's give or take a couple, and we haven't started tracking those guys that got boosters yet. 22 was out of service for a little while with a minor engine issue. The fleet maintenance has since got it back up and running. Ironically, in the 30 years, the 25 years of the age of the truck, that's the first mechanical problem we've ever had with it. So the garage was able to keep it up and running. The budget's been turned in. COVID supplies are good. Critical needs, normally we don't come asking for much other than our parking lot. But while we were hanging the Christmas lights, we found out that the rubber roof that is blowing in the breeze. So we checked with Josh. The roof was put on in 2010. We're still trying to track down the warranty to see if there's any warranty on it from the manufacturer and the contractor that did it. But we're going to have a temporary fix done. I'm working with the finance department to go from there. Other than that, I have no other questions. I mean, I have nothing else unless you have any questions.
Questions for the chief? I just have one. Chief, the roof is on the front part of the building, the main part of the building?
Yeah, the 1969 end.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about some ways to maybe address that, but they're further down the road. But we're definitely going to get something done.
Yeah, no criticism, but it seems like it's a rubber membrane roof,
Yes.
right? So 11 years, something seems to me like something's up.
The one that was on there for 20 before we got that one done.
Right.
Prior to that, it was the original roof from 69.
I mean, we've got to fix it one way or the other, but.
One way or another, yeah. I mean, the worst part about it is all of the, what makes it a priority is the area that it covers protects all of the fiber and everything that comes into the building for NPU, so we'll have to work on that.
Okay. Thank you. Yannick? Hi, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. And congratulations again on your re-elections and election and appointments. So a couple of steady months for Yantic between October and November. 46 calls in October, 48 in November. So on the slower side, but that's not a bad thing. Rescue and medical calls are making up about 60% of those calls. During November, you can see where false alarms went up to about just under 15%. That continues to be a problem in the Yantic area. There's one facility in the industrial park that cares. It's a division of Nashua Hospital, Hartford Healthcare, and when the kids act out, they end up pulling the fire alarm. So that's been a little bit of a concern for us, but it just seemed like I had a spurt up there. Vaccinations, we are at 78%. We did have one breakthrough case. That member is back to service, and the exposure was non-fire service related. Critical needs, parking lot, ongoing, a vendor for the engineering part of that has been solicited, and a purchase order's been placed. We're out obtaining bids now for the air conditioning for the first floor. Norwich Public Utilities training, that would be taking place next Monday. We're having 2 sessions, one at 10 o'clock in the morning for our daytime crew, one at 7 o'clock for our evening crew. So for the other chiefs, if you've had anyone that's missed that training, they're more than welcome to come visit us up in Yantic. October is Fire Prevention Month, as most folks know, and I got to give all the credit to this to Assistant Chief O'Connell. During the months of October and early November, presented 8 different fire prevention sessions, daycares, all the schools, nursery schools in our district, including Huntington School. Huntington School was a hair different. They wanted us, through their COVID guidelines, we were limited to X amount of time and X amount of firefighters to go down there. But all in all, we were able to reach out to about 500 participants. So we're very fortunate with that. And like I said, all that credit goes to Paulie and his folks that work with him. In November, we conducted an entire full-day extrication up at Raymond's Auto in Franklin. They provided us with several cars. We went through various scenarios, and we had 19 of our members there spend a whole Sunday up there having fun ripping up cars. We are also planning an OSHA Day. What we do in Yantic, we started this several years ago. Late February, it's going to be February 27th. We start at 8:30 in the morning, and we try to get all of our OSHA mandates out of the way. Lockout, tag out, bloodborne pathogens, that type of stuff. And it's a mandatory training for those folks. So that's been planned around Super Bowl Sunday to avoid Super Bowl Sunday and the Daytona 500. So it's the end of the month. I have one student in Firefighter 1 in Willimantic right now. He should be graduating in January. And there's been discussions of resurrecting the Norwich Free Academy high school program. For 5 or 6 years, we had done a high school program with Norwich Free Academy, taking kids from, they could have been from Preston, Franklin, whatever school, whatever towns, sent students to NFA. We met with them on 12 Saturday mornings. We went around the city in numerical order, started at headquarters, ended up in Laurel Hill. Each of those departments took a half a day, and believe it or not, we probably get about a 40 to 50% turnover from those students that have an interest in the fire service actually joining their local fire department. So I know we got one. I know East Great Plains ended up with a couple. I believe Taffel ended up with a handful. Preston, Franklin. But again, it's we started that a year or so ago. We brought them to fire school in Willimantic for one day, and then COVID kicked in. So we haven't had a chance to do that in 2 years. So we'll be discussing that at the next Chiefs meeting. November 6th, we had our awards night. Again, we haven't had a chance to meet in quite a while in Yantic, and it was time to recognize over the course of 2 years folks for their length of service and different things they do for the firehouse. That evening, we recognized 19 members with over 425 years of service to the community. So again, credit to those folks for sticking it out that long. This coming Saturday, from 9 to 3, we'll be doing a food drive at Stop and Shop. Again, last year it didn't happen. That's been resurrected as well. All the food goes to the food pantry run through Sacred Heart Church in Norwich Town. They are ecstatic that it's been able to happen because they're down to like 1 month's supply of food left. So they're happy to see that their cabinets will be restocked. Other than that, we did have a house struck by lightning during that windstorm. It was basically to the exterior of the house, one line, first line got it, and again, the guys did a good job on that minor incident. And then the last thing is foam, and this is more for the chiefs because I haven't had a chance to speak to them. If anyone has stray foam that's bouncing around, that is PFAS. I found 2 cans at the station, so I can bring it to the fire school. They're still collecting up there for the state takeaway program. Anything else, folks?
Any questions? Nothing
No?
from me, Chief.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Folks.
Moving on to Akam. Hi, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Been a while since I've been up here.
It's good to have you back.
Treatments are going well, so
Good.
I'm happy. You all got the copy of the report?
Yes, I did. Yep.
Okay, all right. As of right now, significant responses, we had 23 calls last month. It brings our call ratio up to 110 for the year. 31 of them were mutual aid calls for the year. A structure fire on 86 Nashua Street, that's in the Pleasure Valley Mobile Home section. That was a rekindle due to the previous owner going in there and scrapping metal. They were cutting with torches and things, and they rekindled the fire. We had it out fairly quickly due to the fact there wasn't much trailer left. So, critical needs, the replacement of N41, which is a 91 Pierce. It's starting to show its age now. It's starting to have a lot of electrical issues. We're constantly having to replace warning lights, and last year we had to spend $20,000 on it for a whole complete braking system. So 41, it's a Ferrara, which we were told by John down at City Garage, he doesn't want to work on them anymore. He says he will, but he says if you're going to look for a new truck, don't go with a Ferrara. So that's having a lot of electrical issues, which is constant through the Ferrara industry. That's what I'm understanding now. Staffing, right now, we have a membership of 38 members, 41 with inactive. So we have 1 in Fire 1 class. We have 8 fire service instructors, 5 EMRs. We have 4 EMT, or 14 EMTs, 4 pending with their classes. They're finishing them up. We have an EMSI instructor, which is Scott. So projects, the $100,000 grant. I don't know if you want me to elaborate on that or anything.
Feel free.
Okay. Right now, they plan on breaking ground for the new sign outside to replace the one that's fallen down now next week. We've already gone through zoning and planning, and the contractors on all these projects, they're all licensed and bonded, and I'm working constantly with Josh and Mr. Castanova to make sure everything's on the up and up with this grant. The replacement of the doors, they won't be in until February, mid-February. Yeah, because of
Supply
shipping
chain.
parts and
Right.
availability. And once they get the doors, they're gonna, we're having the key fob system put in at the same time. And those two have to coordinate so that there's not gonna be an unlocked door. A gear washer and dryer, we've met with those people. I guess we're getting a pretty good bargain from what was done the last time. So that's going to be in within mid-December. So And then the floors upstairs, I'm obtaining quotes on those right now. So we'll have them all done. And after that, I'm looking to replace the stair chair, the incline chair for upstairs. So in all, I'm hoping to use the money up before the end of May, because we thought we had 2 years on this grant. We don't. June is it.
Oh, okay.
So we're trying to hurry and get everything into motion. So, yeah. Let's see, training. We had a guy go through instructor 1. We have a guy that's passed his written exam for the EMT, and we have 4 that are going to take the class for EMR. They're refreshers. So, let's see. As far as COVID, we're doing real good. We had one member that had to quarantine himself because he's in the military. So, and then the other thing to note is Scott, he's away. So I'm down 1 officer. So our PPE is doing real well. We are all members are vaccinated except 1. He's a holdout. So we're working with the other chiefs on the radio dispatch upgrades, moving forward on that, and working on a mutual aid plan. I had Scott, he was home for Thanksgiving, and I had him go over things with me quite quickly, but we will be changing our run cards to a different format. So other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, questions for the chief?
2 questions, Chief. First, let me say it's great to see you here tonight. As far as the grant goes, you said you have a June deadline. Is that for, can you encumber the money, or does it have to be spent?
It has to be spent.
It has to be spent by June. So you can't say to them, listen, we're going to be doing X project, and we
Nope.
have signed a contract, but we may not be able to finish the job until August, or?
No, from what I'm understanding from Mr. Castanova and Josh, the way the grant is written is we have to have everything submitted by the end of May for payment.
Okay.
The work has to be completed
Okay.
by the end of May.
And my second question, you were talking about the station doors going to a key fob system. You like that better than the keypad?
Well, there's going to be a keypad, but also the fob comes with the pad. We got it as a package
So
deal.
a code and the fob?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So, anything else?
Nope, nothing from me, chief. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
EGP? I haven't heard from Keith, but I think he was at the firehouse, but I'm not sure. Okay. Laurel Hill. Hi, Chief.
Good evening. Aaron Westfeld, Chief, Laurel Hill Fire Department. I emailed the reports to you. Did you get them? Okay. So October, November, no significant things that we need to report for those. As far as COVID supplies, our supplies are good. We have plenty of stuff to get us through anything that we see for the foreseeable future. Membership vaccinations, we're at 95%. We have 2 current holdouts, which I'm currently actively working on trying to get them through. But we are aware of them. We do have a mask mandate. If we're going to be having large meetings, we do have a mask mandate, so we're taking care of it that way. No major infrastructure concerns as of right now. Anything coming out would be going through the budget currently anyway, so we're in that process. Training for the month, last couple months, we were focusing on a lot of outdoor activities because we're trying to get everything done before the winter months really start kicking in. And December is kind of our wind down month. We have a lot of Winterfest parade and everything else going on. So we don't do much, but we did do some mutual aid trainings. We just did one the other night with EGP. They had a fire marshal come out. I had 20 members that attended EGP's training with them, talk about scene preservation after fires and so on. So we did some other trainings with some other agencies as well. All of our vehicles are currently in service. No major downtime for them over the last couple of months, just regular DOT, day or two kind of thing. So nothing there. And the only thing we have coming up for this month is December 18th. We have a boot drive. We do a boot drive. We've been doing it for the last 18 years. We usually give it to a local charity. We've done Tommy Toy Fund in the past. We've done other things. This year we're going to be doing the St. Vincent de Paul place. So any money we collect, 100% goes directly to them. So we're going to be doing that December 18th from 10 to 2 if anyone would like to come by and donate some money to us. Other than that?
You do that in front of the firehouse?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, right on Route 12.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions for me, I'll be gladly entertained.
Questions? No? No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes our department and agency updates. That moves us on to item 8 on our agenda, public safety items for future discussion. I actually want to circle back to one that we mentioned at our October meeting, which was the flooding concerns because of the storms that had recently occurred prior to that meeting. And if you were listening in or watching last night, you heard the mayor talk about it in his speech, and the conversations are ongoing with using the ARP money for infrastructure projects, and flooding in certain areas of the city are all part of that. So that's moving forward. I didn't think that there was need to put that on our agenda, but I did want to mention that did not slip through the cracks. Are there any items from the committee, public safety items for future discussion that I should include on our upcoming agenda?
Have any? We don't have any.
Anything from the public safety complex? John?
I have one item that was not on the report and was requested by all the departments was a Lucas device. It's a device that automates CPR, and it's a very important piece of equipment. I'm proposing with the final monies in the ARP for this section to purchase 6 Lucas devices, 1 for each department. And that would be, I don't have my notes, I think it's about $110,000 for the 6. So you'll be seeing that at the council level in January.
Chief Jenks? You already have one in service, correct?
Yep.
Good.
Very good success rate.
Yeah, right. You've reported on that a couple of times, yes. Okay, thank you, John. Okay, and with that, our item 9 on our agenda, just to say that our January meeting will be on January 12th. All things being equal, we'll be here in person. Obviously, unless the city manager recommends that we go to a virtual format based on the infection rate. And with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, would it be possible for the reports that you are sent by the chief to be given to the committee prior to the meeting?
Well, so the answer is yes and kind of no, because I don't always get them before we convene the meeting. Sometimes it's once I've gotten here and sometimes it's after. So I always make sure that I send them to the recording secretary once I have them all, but at that point, to send them to the two of you as well is not a problem.
Okay, thank you, because
Sure,
if there were any
absolutely.
questions, I don't want to wait a month
Yeah, right.
before I get a copy of those reports. Thank you.
Okay, with that, again, motion to adjourn?
I'll make,
Stacy, you can.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
By roll call, Alderwoman Berto,
Yes.
Alderwoman Gould.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Be safe, have a great holiday.